What's up, guys? It's your vocal coach, Matt Ramsey. My last singing video was all about singing hack videos and why you should avoid them like the plague. Okay, so are guys and girls both supposed to do it in the exact same key then? So what do? I make a video that's exactly about singing hacks. Wait, before you run off. I want you to know that every single one of the techniques and tricks that I'm going to show you in this video has been tested out by me personally after teaching 2,000 plus students over the last 12 years in my private voice studio. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go from the ones that are easiest to implement to the ones that are just a little bit more challenging to get into your body and into your voice. So feel free to take them one at a time, see if you can get them into your DNA, see if you can get them into your body before moving on. Okay, number one, this is an easy one to get started off with, and it makes a huge difference in your voice, and I call it the dead man's stare. Okay, so I see a whole lot of singers that when they go up for higher notes, they start to do strange things with their body, with their face, with their eyes, with their eyebrows, with their chin, with their neck, with their shoulders. It's really wild. Woo! You'll notice that even if I just pause it right here, she's really raising up her chin. She's spreading her mouth really wide. And a lot of this is for dramatic effect because she's got such great technique and can do it. And some people do this with multiple things. So they'll go up for a high note. They're like, mom, 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 mom. Like they're raising their eyebrows or they're slightly lifting their chin or mom, 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 or they're raising up their chest in order to hit that high note. And so what you're going to do is you're going to pretend that you're a dead man.
Rick was lost at sea about a year ago. Thought he saw a bird and he swam out to pet it. He never came back.
So you're not going to let any emotion or any action or movement take place on your face or in your body as you're singing. Another way to put this is you want all of the sound to be coming directly from your voice, none of it from your body. But the reason why I think this is so tough is because it's very difficult to know what's going on your face or with your body if you're not watching yourself. So practice this in a mirror and see just how still you can get it. And if you see any mom, 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 or mom, 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 cut it out. Go towards the dead man's stare. Mom, 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 mom. That brings us to number 2. Don't chase the note with your throat. But essentially, I see a whole lot of singers that when they go up for high notes, their larynx raises. They go up for the high note. Okay, and here's Demi Lovato, an incredible singer, going for the high note in Stone Cold. Okay, so you can notice that if she's going up for that high note, if you can see that larynx is moving up, and that's what's causing the break. But in almost every case, we want the larynx or the voice box here to be as balanced as possible, meaning it's not moving up for high notes and it's not moving down for low notes. So an easy psychological trick that you can play on yourself is you can start thinking down on high notes. So rather than letting it go toward that, where my larynx is getting really tight, instead think down when you're going up towards those higher notes. And all of a sudden you'll notice that the larynx and your throat in general is just much more relaxed and stable. This leads beautifully into tip number 3, which is that essentially with singing, we want to think on the vertical rather than the horizontal. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, when we're going up for high notes, a whole lot of singers have been taught that they need to spread their mouth super wide in order to hit that higher note and make it sound exciting. Here's a great example. Here's Idina Menzel singing Defying Gravity from the 2004 Tony Awards. Is ever gonna bring right, so wide, super wide in her vowel there. And in part, they're right. You know, singing on a sounds a lot more exciting than which is like a little bit more of a classical or an operatic sound. However, What happens a whole lot of the time is when people start spreading their mouth wide, you'll notice that things in the top of their neck and some of these strap muscles get engaged that should not be. So they might not even make it to that high note. They'll ma 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 ma. And you can see that it really, really messes up the sound, makes it super strainy, doesn't sound nearly as cool as someone who's really, really belting it out for effect. So again, we want to think about dropping the jaw vertically rather than spreading the mouth wide horizontally as we ascend in pitch. So ma 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 ma. Ma 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 ma. That's a B flat 4 coming down. Ma 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 ma. The rising sun is like messing with these eye lines right here. So I'm getting a little naturally backlit. Okay, so we just talked about the importance of dropping the jaw vertically for higher notes rather than spreading it horizontally, right? And so what we're actually talking about here are subtle adjustments to the vowel. And so when we're talking about vowels, that's like e, o, u. These are the singing sounds that we make that don't necessarily have any sort of a closure like a consonant would, like a k or a d or a t or a m. Instead, it's something in the vocal tract is open. Now, vowels are actually exceptionally important in singing. If there's anything that you can focus on in your singing voice for maximum results, it's going to be vowels. They're not sexy at all, I'm bringing sexy back, but they absolutely help. So in tip 4, I want you to think skinny vowels. What do I mean by skinny vowels? Well, you know, an ah or an ah are kind of more open vowels, whereas an oo or an e are more skinny vowels. Okay, and here's a great chart demonstrating those different kind of width or narrowness of different vowels. So we're starting from the most narrow up here, e and oo. So you can see as I start going down the line here, my mouth starts to open. E, with a being the most open. On this side too, so oftentimes when we're talking about kind of narrowing through the bridge, it just means, let's say we're singing an a vowel. What's one more skinny than that? You can slightly go towards more of an eh. So rather than an ah, and that note's hard for me, for a better result. Sometimes making the vowels slightly skinnier or slightly more narrow during that passage or during that bridge can be really, really helpful. For example, like a lot of guys are going to start going towards their bridge around this E flat 4, E4, F4, F sharp 4, whereas ladies are most likely going to be transitioning from that chest voice up to the head voice around this A4, B flat 4, B4. And during those places, you want to pay really close attention to your vowels. So I'll just demonstrate this on an ah. So starting here on G3 going up to D4, I'm still thinking ah mostly. Ah, ah. Now as I'm going through that bridge, I'm approaching it right now with that E flat heading to that E4. Probably around this E4, I'm going to start thinking a little bit of So I'm thinking kind of ah over almost like a fraction. Ah, ah. Okay, Stevie Wonder, a famous example of another student that Seth Riggs taught from SLS. And just take a listen to this part right here.
Well, I'm a man of many wishes. I hope my premonition misses.
Now, the lyrics there are actually, I'm a man of many wishes, hope my premonitions misses, right? So, but he goes for that, I'm a man of many wishes. He's literally saying many wishes. I hope my premonition misses.
I'm a man of many wishes. I hope my premonition.
Mini Premonitions? Interesting. And when you get really good at this, you can start masking what those vowels really are, and you can start tricking the audience into thinking that they're hearing the correct word, but actually you were thinking a skinnier vowel. Okay, this leads us to tip number 5, the pregnant breath or the low belly breath. Now, why on earth have I waited until tip number 5 to tell you about breathing with singing? Like, you can even see on my perfect performance pyramid that breathing is really one of the foundational elements of having a better performance. Well, it's because everything that you've been taught about breathing for singing runs counter to almost everything else that we've learned in how to breathe in life. A lot of people, they take these really, really shallow clavicular breaths where it's like the top part of their body is moving. But with singing, it's completely opposite. We're still breathing from the mouth, but we want it to be a silent breath, and we want it to extend only from the bottom of the belly. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are going to be like, hey, Matt, this is the same diaphragmatic breath, low belly breath we've been taught for years on YouTube, and you're absolutely right. But here's the thing. This is actually one of the harder exercises to implement because it's so opposite of what a lot of people do instinctively. And then as we sing or as we exhale, that lower belly is going to come back in. So we call it the pregnant breath because when you're inhaling, you're taking that low belly breath, almost looks like you're a pregnant lady. And then as you sing, that stomach is going to come gently in. An easy way to do this is take your hands, place them at the bottom of your stomach right there. And as you inhale, you're going to inhale and you're going to allow the lower part of your belly to extend as you inhale. And at the same time, we're not going to let anything in our chest or in our shoulders or in our neck raise as we do that. You'd be amazed at how many singers that I have, and they're like, I've been working on my breath support for years. And as soon as they take a breath before they sing, they raise up their shoulders, they raise up their chest, and instead of taking that low belly breath and letting all the movement be at the bottom of their belly. Here's Beyonce, obviously an incredible singer, and it's unfair of me to pick on a performance from when she was 7 years old, but just to give an example, and because she's such a better singer now, and I'm sure she won't mind if I critique the 7-year-old Beyonce, but just listen to this part right here. Notice that she's raising her shoulders every time she breathes in between a phrase. Now, it's really subtle, but check it out here. Right there. Now, obviously, Beyonce has improved incredibly since this time, but little Beyonce didn't know how to breathe just yet, and that's totally fine. We're all on a journey. Now that we've got your breathing covered, let's talk about falsetto. So, a lot of people talk about falsetto like it's a dirty word.
Dear Lord, that's the loudest profanity I've ever heard.
Like if you go into like that's a terrible thing. And yes, we don't want to have a vocal break in our voice. But here's the thing. Falsetto can actually be used as a tool. And here's why. I get a lot of singers that when they go up to that higher note, they just strain their head off and basically yell their face off. And of course, they don't make it to the note. They're flat, they're straining, and everything hurts in their voice. So I want to introduce to you the find and replace technique. Just like find and replace that you can use in a Word document where it's like you're finding the word and you're replacing it with something else. We're going to take that high note and rather than singing it with strain or with just chest voice, instead, we're going to sing that in falsetto. So just a and so we're going to use that falsetto as a tool. Now, once I have that top note in falsetto, then I can go there with my full voice. And rather than, breaking or straining on that top note, instead, my voice instinctively knows where to go. Here's a good one of Miley Cyrus, who is having just a little bit of trouble this morning. On that, yeah! She might have been better off trying that with a little bit of that falsetto first. Yeah! And then going there with her full voice. Another way to think about this is it's almost like drilling a pilot hole before you put in a screw. If you've ever done any home DIY projects, you don't just take your screwdriver and just drive a screw directly into the wall. No, first you drill it out first and then you put in the screw. And it's kind of similar with this find and replace technique. We're going to replace that top note with falsetto. We're like, ah! Instead, ah! And that's going to tell my voice exactly where to go. Ah! Now, if you do this right and you really focus on it, you may accidentally stumble upon your mixed voice, because what we're doing right now is essentially falsetto is a lack of mixed voice between the chest voice and the head voice. So falsetto is just completely disconnected. Ooh. But if you sing that with falsetto first and then you start from the bottom, oftentimes you'll be able to find your mixed voice. Number 7, sing it bratty. You have absolutely heard this one before. So how many vocal coaches on YouTube have you seen where they're like, oh, are you breaking on high notes? And every time you do that, you should just do it with a bratty nay, 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 like a nay, 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 nay. Nay, 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 nay. Nay, 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 nay. Nay, 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 nay. Nay, 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 nay. Now, the bratty sound is really important because what the bratty sound does is it starts to thin out the vocal cords slightly, but at the same time, it gets a tighter seal on them. That kind of welcome to the jungle. We got fun and games. What the old Italian school called the voce di strega, or the witchy voice, is really, really helpful for a lot of singers because it does bring those vocal cords together so you don't just break into falsetto every time. But the problem with that is that actually by adding in that bratty sound, oftentimes that bratty sound causes a higher larynx. Nay, 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 nay. It's deliberately lifting the larynx in some cases, which is actually helping the vocal cords close more, which is helping avoid the break. Who doesn't that work for? It doesn't work for people that are already straining their faces off, because essentially you're taking people who already have a high larynx and you're adding even more high larynx to it. Now, here's the thing. That exercise is absolutely going to work for some singers out there, but it's actually the singers who are kind of disconnecting up into falsetto in the top part of their voice, or they're just kind of backing off in their voice when they go up to higher notes, like there's not really a perceptible break there, right? But way more often are the singers that have a super, super strong chest voice, and they're attempting to just push their chest voice into notes where it doesn't belong. So they're right? And for those singers, adding more bratty is essentially just probably giving them even more power, and it's going to make them strain even more. Nay, 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 nay. Nay, 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 nay. So what can you do instead? Tip number 8, sing it yawning. Now, if you're still breaking, even after doing that bratty voice, I actually suggest doing the opposite. We just talked about the bratty sound is going to raise the larynx, and that's not going to help people that already have a high larynx. So instead, we might actually think about lowering the larynx, which is going to be singing it kind of yawny. Or you can even think about this as singing it kind of operatic. So if we're singing with a high larynx, where my larynx is really high, instead maybe thinking a little bit of a yawny or a slightly kind of operatic kind of sounds like Patrick from SpongeBob.
Is mayonnaise an instrument?
But rather than where my larynx is really high, is slightly more operatic, slightly more yawny. Oh, like you're having a nice big yawn. The nice thing about that yawny sound is that even if you're feeling like you're really close to falsetto on some of those top notes, like a coo, 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 adding a little bit of that yawning sound can help relax the larynx, which gives you a little bit more resonance, gives you a little more something to hold on to. Goo, 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 goo. Not goo, but goo, 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 goo. You can hear how there's a little more meat to that. And earlier I was talking about the importance of singing vowels correctly. But now we need to talk about the overall importance of singing vowels correctly and well. A lot of singers, when they go up towards those higher notes in their voice, they develop a crutch of really depending on the consonants. Mum, 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 mum. And instead, I want you as a singer to focus on the vowels. Sometimes I phrase it like this. I want you to give me 10% consonant, 90% vowel.
And 100% reason to remember the name.
Ma 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 ma. And the reason it's worth it is because when you get into singing songs, the soul, the emotion of actually singing is in the vowels. It's not in the consonants. The consonants are there to make it easy for people to understand what it is that you're trying to sing. But if we look at any pop song, we'll see that the singer really focuses primarily on the vowels because the vowels are where the real beauty and the soul of the singing voice reside. I mean, just listen to Lane Staley from Alice in Chains just rip this. It's not about feel in my eyes. It's feel in my eyes, right? So remember, the consonants are for enunciation so that the audience can hear what you're singing. They're also a really, really helpful tool in helping a singer establish a really, really good sound in their voice and maybe hit notes that they couldn't before, but you don't want to develop it as a crutch. Instead, focus 90% on the vowels. Speaking of consonants being an excellent tool for singers, sometimes it's really, really helpful to switch out certain consonants when you're singing songs. And the biggest thing that you need to know as a singer about consonants is the difference between voiced consonants and unvoiced consonants. And that's exactly what it sounds like. For example, k is an unvoiced consonant. When I make a k, k, k sound, it's just air. There's no voice involved. However, when I sing a g, 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 that's a voiced consonant because actually my vocal cords are vibrating in the enunciation of the consonant. So g, 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 g. My glottis is actually activating, my vocal cords are actually coming together to vibrate, whereas a k, k, k is literally made just by making a sound in my throat, but not actually coming from the vocal cords. So if you have a song that has a lot of unvoiced consonants on high notes, that's going to be really difficult to sing. If you have to sing a high note on a k, that's a really, really difficult thing to do. And here is the infamous Michael Jackson Seth Riggs lesson that was discovered in a hotel room and given to the world on YouTube to watch, to learn from. Check this out. So Seth Riggs is helping Michael Jackson sing this part in one of his songs at the end of their warm-up.
But I was just wondering, do you have any particular notes on any highs that are crazy or anything? Do you have any ahs or a's or...
So this is actually a really, really good question to ask a singer in a lesson is like, what is the highest note that you're going to have to hit? What is the melody involved? What's the word? Because all of these things could throw you off. And so Michael responds.
Oh. Anything? I mean...
Yeah, an O. It's an O. O.
Oh, what's the word?
Cold.
Oh. All right, then watch the C on it. Do you know what note it's on? That's a B. Now, what is the approach? Is cold. Well, what is the phrase going up to the B?
Is a cold.
All right. So the C could throw you. So just be careful that you keep it as pure as you can and drop your jaw on O. Is a cold. And if it throws you too much, you can say is a gold. Put a G on it. It'll sound like a C. But if Bruce picks up on it, of course, and you do too, then you'll have to put the C.
And this is absolutely brilliant. So Seth is saying, hey, Instead of singing cold, maybe you can add in a little bit of a G sound to actually help the vocal cords close a little bit more. But he's saying, hey, but if Bruce, your production manager, or anyone else notices, then you might have to stick with kind of a half C, half G sound. So for example, if you have to go up and sing a high note, but it's on a k, 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 that's going to be really hard. K, 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 k. It's going to be really difficult to establish any sort of connection on that top note. Instead, switch it out for a g, 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 like gut. Ga, 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 ga. Why? Because that g, g, g is voiced, so my vocal cords are starting to vibrate from the very beginning of it rather than waiting for the vowel to start vibrating. To kind of sum it all up, this is one of those things that you need to understand is that in general, we want to speak as we sing. You'll notice that a lot of the tips that I've given you today have been about learning how to sing some of these exercises a little bit more than trying to sing them. For example, when I tell you don't chase the note with your throat, you don't go, hi, nice to meet you, up with a high larynx and spreading the mouth really wide. You just say, hi, nice to meet you. And so if we were going to sing that, we want to sing it with the same relaxation and the same visual relaxation and the same sound as when we're speaking it. So a really simple way to do this is just say the word ma, 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 or ga, 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 or gi, 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 and then sing the exercise. For example, mum, mum, mum. So rather than ma, 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 and really changing that sound, instead I'm just going to focus on saying it. Mum, 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 mum. Like I'm just saying mother, mother, mom, mother, 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 mum, 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 mum. Everything with your voice is about finding the right balance of sounds to help you have the easiest and most controlled vocal production possible. If you found these tips helpful, you're going to find a whole lot more within my complete singing course, Master Your Voice. It's the only singing course that features personalized feedback from me, a 5-star vocal coach, plus a proven system of exercises.